I love the disagreements because that makes for an interesting conversation. When you think about it as rules that are restrictive, that's what I don't like. I think humans love rules, for the most part. Even anarchists love rules because it's something to go against. But to say, oh, I want traditional or authentic, wait a second. It's just these terms that we try to put on things, and then they stick, which makes us think that there's some rules. If you say authentic, then that to you means true, it means the real, it means the honest. It's like, maybe not honest, that's what I think of it as, but maybe it means like true, the right way. But authenticity is another thing that's, it's subjective. It's to say that something's authentic or traditional is basically meaningless without context. The goal is always unity, but I don't need people to agree on their opinion. So if somebody tries to invalidate somebody else's opinion, I want to let them know that they are totally in the wrong, but I want to let them know in a way that makes them feel like I'm just unwinding their question. Instead of invalidating their opinion, I want to unwind their reason for forming that opinion. So if somebody says, "Oh well, this one is better than that one," and I'll say, "Well, what if I told you that this existed before the thing that you have in your mind right now? What is tradition and what is authentic? What do those words mean?" Well, tradition changes over time. So when you say traditional, you're referring to the tradition that you grew up with. So when you interact with a version of it that's not the one that you are familiar with, it seems like it's wrong or it's different. Over time, humans have loved fascists, which is a terrifying thing, but it's just true. Like, people love to not have to think. We forget that we have brains that can process these things, and we want to know that there's one right way, and we also want to impose that on other people as a way of maintaining power. And so it becomes a bit of a battle, and they want to make it seem like something's wrong. Human psychology with understanding politics is the same as understanding food. When somebody says, "I want traditional," then what they mean is a round pie like 18 to 20 inches in diameter, cut into 8 wedges with low moisture mozzarella and either a very lightly or maybe even unseasoned, uncooked sauce of just tomato. And it's flexible, foldable, served on a paper plate, hangs off the edge, a little shiny on top, so when you fold it, a little bit of grease drops out the front. That's exactly what they mean. And that is a classic New York slice. But, well, what happened in New York before the slice? The slice didn't just land here when the first Neapolitan immigrants landed here. It was 50 years later. And why was it 50 years later? Well, it's because the technology used to cook the food and the ingredients available to make the food were different from 1900 to 1950. So you could say, "Oh, I want to have the one that's accurate to 1972, because that's specific." And even then, you can geographically specify, "I want that's accurate to 1972 on the block I grew up with." Okay, that's something. Like, to me, it's the food of independence. It's inexpensive enough that you can afford to buy it without mom and dad's money. it's customizable in that your whole family gets a whole pizza, but you take your section of the food and doctor it up the way you want to. And I think that like early taste of independence is what's so exciting about it. It makes the kid feel like they're autonomous, and it makes the grown-up feel like they're a kid again, because it centers you at that time that it happened. It's the great equalizer. You have billionaires eating next to homeless people, and everybody's at the same table, even though you're experiencing it on your own. We need the discord to keep pizza moving the way it's been moving for the past 300 years. If we all agreed on something, then there would be no variation. And with no variation, there's no ability to be the chameleon. Its ability to change is what keeps it alive, and it's what also threatens people because they think that's something different. Oh, you put squid on it? Oh, it's not pizza anymore. Well, wait a second. When did it stop being pizza? And very often, the reason that somebody likes something is the very reason that somebody else didn't like it. If somebody has a problem with the way that you enjoy your slice, then that's 100% their problem, and has nothing to do with you. Pizza brings us joy because it reminds us what it's like to be a kid, and because it brings you back to the time without responsibility. So, I mean, what's more joyful than feeling free of the weight of the real world and bills and work, the time of stillness when you can not have all those other things on you? And when you were a kid, remember being a kid and what you were worried about as a kid? And now, looking back at that, it's all so frivolous. But at that time, the most serious thing in the world. And it's like, if you could have that moment with what you know now, I think that's what pizza does to us.